Hello my friends, this is Substic again with another tutorial, and actually it's not really a tutorial, it's rather something like a run-through, and it's about creating a classic minimal techno pattern on the Arturia Drumbrute, which sounds like this. Okay, so I do this video to show you how I did this because one of my recent videos, which was called Minimalbrute, got quite some attention from you guys, and so I thought it would be a nice idea for those of you who don't know how to create minimal techno in a way how I did it on a Drumbrute, to show you how I did it. And it's really not very complicated. It's very important on those sounds that you have around the kick and the bass and everything, that those are pretty short. That's basically just the only rule of thumb here. But without further hesitation, let's go in and let's check this out. So we have the classic sounds here, and basic sounds on the Drumbrute sound like this. Okay, that's the levels down. Yeah, so not very spectacular. First things, let's go to a bank and let's quickly choose some patterns, and let's first erase them so that I can start from scratch. Now I'm holding several tricks at once, and now those patterns are deleted. Okay, so I can start from scratch. So the most important thing, obviously, kick drum first. So let's start with this one. And yeah, let's just put some basic steps in, not very complicated. So we have the bass drum here with an accent on top, and let's have a listen first, and let's tune it so that it's the way we like it. Yeah, something like that. Make it a bit shorter. That's about it. Now, the next thing we need is kind of a bass, and I decide to use the low tom for that. That's the low tom. So let's use this one as a bass and do a classic offbeat bass. Let's put the steps right here, 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 and here. And let's have a listen. Yeah, that's really classic. Okay, we do more variation to this when we move on with the pattern, but let's add some other elements in first. So what we need next is a hi-hat, obviously, and that one should be very short, as I said before. Try something like that, but this time I'm not using the accent. I'm using step mode, so that it has its bass velocity and not the higher velocity it has with the accent. Just putting it on the same steps as the bass was. And you probably can already tell how this would sound, but I still play it. Working a little bit on the volume here. Okay, that's cool. Now we need something more interesting here, and I find out, and in classic minimal techno, a lot of toms and conga stuff where I used quite a lot here. So I start with the high tom, and let's see how this sounds like first. This could work already. Let's see how low the low tom actually is. So that seems to work in conjunction. Let's try if it works when we tune it lower. Now let's try it with the highest pitch possible. And now we put this in between. So when we look at how the hi-hat and the bass is actually set in the grid, we can see we are on 3, 7, 11 and 15. And the kick drum itself is sitting on the classic steps 1, 5, 9 and 13. So we have some room covered already, but we have room left for instruments to put in between. And those are primarily things like the 4, the 6, 10, 8 and something around the kick drum, you know. And it will get more clear when we listen to it. So let's select this high tom and let's place a trick here and a trick here. And when we play this now, it would sound a little bit weird, but let's have a listen. And it sounds weird because we have no swing active now in classic minimal techno. Swing is absolutely important. And we could really do quite a lot of swings. So let's turn it in, bring it up to 65 and listen to this again. And you may already get what I'm up to. Do you hear this? It's a lot more, yeah, has much more groove to it. So we will use this. And now we can fill some other steps in this thing as well. So we switch to the congas here. Let's have a listen how the low and the high conga sound in general. So I choose the low conga first to get a rise up effect. You will hear this quite shortly. So let's place this one here and let's place it here and let's have a listen. So here, first the high tom is a little bit lower, the low conga is slightly higher, and now when we go to the high conga, we could do something like this. Or something like this. Doesn't really matter what we do, as long as we have those sounds somewhat sounding great, you know. So let's try this. I actually like this. Adjust the volumes a little bit. And now I want to have a snare in between, just to fill the offbeat a little bit more. So I select the snare right here and yet again make it short. That one's short. So let's try it on this and let's have a listen. That's really classic. Okay, and finally, let's take this open hi-hat here and let's let it run through completely. So, pretty short decay. Should be shorter than the decay from the hi-hat we have in here. Yeah, let's try and let's now do this. Let's have a listen. So you notice it's getting something in the background. Okay, now that we have this basic pattern, we extend it, make it longer so that we can program some variations into the basic pattern already. So first I go to the low tom, which is our bass, and on the last bar right here, which is the 4th bar actually, on this last bar I will do some variation, and let's have a listen how this sounds like when I do things like this. Yeah, just some slight slight variation. Let's do the same with the other toms that we have. Different steps. Yeah, I think you get the point. It's just about getting some variation, getting a basic pattern done and getting some variation into it, and that's already it. But there's one important thing still missing, and for minimal techno and generally for electronic music, we need some kind of compression going on. And I have a compressor right here, it's already hooked up. As you can see, this is my DBX266XS, and at the moment I have it set up so that the signal is running through it already, so I can start to work on it. First, I'm just quickly introducing it and doing really not much to it. Just play through and have a listen how it sounds when the compressor is kicking in. I really have nothing going on right now. I'm just making it a little bit louder now. So let's kick it in right now. Kick it in. So now it's just louder at the moment. So what I now do is I bring down the threshold just slightly, and it's set to a ratio of 4:1. I keep the attack and release in the middle, and it should get just some slight pumping effect, but not too much at the moment. Let's have a listen. I first bypass it and kick it in again after the bar is ready. Get some slide, you hear it, right? Now I turn down the threshold even more. It's getting quieter, and I compensate for that by bringing the output gain up. But it already starts to sound a little bit overcompressed, so let's bring this threshold down again. But try to work on the attack and the release, so I will reduce attack and release right now. This was the attack, and that's the release. And you can hear it's overcompressing very much. So let's bring a little bit more of release in again. Not sure. Yeah. Now I increase the ratio. Now it's somewhere like 8:1. And I've also turned down the threshold a little bit again, so it's getting a bit quieter now. I compensate for this by bringing the output gain up again. Yeah, and what you hear, we have a very punchy attack to everything now, and I quite like it. Okay, so that's basically it. Really, there isn't much to it, so just use short decays and everything on the sounds you use, and let the stuff run through a compressor. You don't need this DBX266XS for that. You can use pretty much any compressor you have. It's really not so complicated, you know. So that's it. Have fun with it. Bye.